we'll see.
I played some cool concerts in Ljubljana.
Yeah,
With Dewey, we played a
with
double bill.
Dewey.
Yeah, with a double bill. My first tour with him, summer of '95. We played a
Seriously?
double bill with Abby Lincoln.
No,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, at an
Wow.
outdoor place,
Oh,
and
Križanke, yeah,
it was with Mark Carey
yeah.
and I think it was Michael Bowie and Alvester Garnett. It's the first
Oh,
time I met
wow.
Alvester. That was,
Amazing.
be, yeah, 25, 2000, no, excuse me, 1995. So,
95. That's
yeah, yeah, it was
25
25
years.
years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Really? That's amazing. I didn't know you guys played with Dewey in Ljubljana.
And
Wow.
then, and then we went back and played that same outdoor place. I remember there was a dressing room to the right
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful
and
place.
yeah, and Abby or Miss Lincoln was back there, and Dewey was back there, and he was trying to do everything to flirt with her. And finally, she was beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
even in later years, just
yeah.
gorgeous. Just a remarkable. And she said, Redman, you can keep trying, but this is not going anywhere. And I think they had some Slivovitz. Is that what the song was
Yeah,
called?
yeah. We
Yeah, it
have
was
that.
great. And then check this out. That was an awesome night. I mean, I was just mesmerized,
Oh my.
And and then that was like the second gig of this tour in '95. So it
Wow.
was me, Cameron Brown, and Rita Marcattulli and Dewey.
Yeah, the quartet, yeah.
And then we played there again in another summer trip. It was a triple bill. Anthony Braxton solo, Dewey's quartet, Henry Threadgill's Make a
Wow.
Move.
Wow. Oh,
Make a
with
Move.
Brandon Ross and those guys and
Yeah,
yeah,
Brandon
yeah.
and
Wow.
Stomu and
Yeah.
JT Lewis.
Oof, that's such a
Yeah,
killing band. Yeah.
yeah, and Anthony, like I said, Anthony played. It was great, and Anthony played solo, and
Wow.
he heard everything. Like he listened to Dewey's band, he heard like the whole thing. He had his ears just the way he took it, and not too long before,
Amazing.
maybe like within the year prior to that. I was talking with Dave Douglas, and he was saying, we were talking about Anthony Braxton, or he had made this record with Mario Pavone that he had made with
Yeah,
Anthony.
yeah.
And he said, and he said, Anthony Braxton's going to hear you and go, we must record duet together. We must play duet together. So it was one of my highlights. So you get in the van afterwards, and we're riding with Anthony. He's so excited about Dewey. Just hearing him.
Really.
Yeah, he knew it, like, oh, the way you guys played, the very thought of you, the way you did this.
That's
And
incredible.
he was like so excited. He said, man, he goes, we must record duet. We must play duet together sometime.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah, he
That's
said
amazing.
it's never happened, unfortunately. I would
Yeah.
love to. But it was just great, his enthusiasm and the way he heard everything,
Yeah.
Like he was such a fan, at the
Yeah.
same time that he was taking it all in. So that
Yeah.
was a very special night. And then I think the one time with Dewey, we played another like a Italian border town with
Oh
Slovenia.
yeah, Gorizia maybe, or Trieste.
Oh, yeah, Gorizia. Yeah,
Gorizia,
Gorizia.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that area. I think I was back there with Trio M once.
I think with Myra and yeah,
Yeah, and Myra
Mark
and Mark.
Dresser. Yeah, yeah,
And
I think so.
there's a really specific kind of prosciutto from that area that's different than the rest.
And the
Yeah.
red wine and like, I know, man.
Oh man, I remember we ate. We were having dinner. Do you know Filippo Bianco? He's from
No,
one of those Italian jazz magazines. I've known
yeah,
Filippo for a lot
no,
of years.
no.
And he was at the dinner that night. We had this. Wow, I remember the food being great.
Yeah, like everyone, like I remember, like years. I had a tour with Mark Turner and Matt Brewer on bass, and like we went to Italy, and those guys, every American. For us, it's kind of like I live quite close to Italy, so I'm used to this. But all those guys I remember were just like, wow, man, the food, you get like antipasti and the main dish and it's limoncello at the end, and it's just like,
Oh,
wow.
we just do the whole. I mean, I've been over there so
Yeah,
much, and
yeah,
we did the. I went there for one concert, not last summer, summer before, with Rita. We made this record with Martin Wynn, a trio tribute to Dewey.
I really have to check
We
it out.
recorded it in October of. It's only on LP,
Ah, okay.
but it's really nice. And we were over there with Martin's band, and then we finished in Italy, and then we went and recorded this record. I can't remember where we recorded. Really nice engineer, really great sound.
Oh, like in Udine? Maybe like
I have to look. Yeah,
Stefano Marios maybe plays. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. And
Yeah.
great. And then we did one concert in Ancona that summer. So I did like a little vacation.
Yeah.
With my
Beautiful, right?
friend, and we had a great time. I took my children there in 2015 for a vacation, so we went all over. So yeah. As I've been there, fortunately as playing, and fortunately now too as a just getting a chance to be
as a normal person. Yeah,
it was great. It was great. I mean, it was fantastic. So, but I love Slovenia. I was just talking about it. Yeah, with some folks the other day, we were talking about it. Croatia, it's all those. I love all those countries right around.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice scene that has developed through the years now. Also, like jazz wise, and the location is also good. Living here, everything is quite close for tours, and so it's good. Yeah, and the quality of living, I think it's quite high.
Oh yeah, I think so. Definitely, yeah, very much so. Very much so. I remember Dewey and I went to it was hot, at the concert. We went to a Dairy Queen in Slovenia. It was in downtown Ljubljana somewhere, and it was huge. I remember wow, we were over right on the road and said, let's do that. Let's get a milkshake or something. I know we had a sundae or something. It was really fun, but we had a great time. Yeah, it was really, really fun.
Yeah, Matt, since you're talking about Dewey, I wanted to ask you this later, but since we started with this, how did you? I saw one footage yesterday on YouTube. You with this quartet from Vienna in Porgin Bass in 2004, so it's kind of the later tours, and you're just, it's burning. It's amazing. But I wanted to ask you, how did you hook up with Dewey in the beginning? How did this connection happen?
It's a pretty happening story. So thank you. And by the way, there's I'll send you the link, but it's on YouTube. It was just debuted, even though we've had it for a while. But we debuted this duet concert that Dewey and I did in 1996.
Seriously?
Yeah. 23 minutes long. It's from a performance space in Brooklyn called Fifth House. If you go to my Facebook page, it's there.
I'll check it out. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
and we kind of debuted it the other night. But anyway, it's really nice. So we play
a duo.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
But I was playing. I had moved to Boston. I had moved from Boston to here in 1992.
Okay.
And I was still playing with the Either Orchestra and Charlie Colhase's band in Boston. So I was going back and forth quite a bit. When the first year I was back and forth, maybe even weekly or something like that.
Oh shit!
Maybe even whatever. Then it got less and less and less and less kind of thing. But once I was playing in Boston at a place was formerly Night Stage, was a place in Central Square in Boston, and I was playing in a group with two saxophones, the leader of the Either Orchestra, Russ Gershon, and Salim Washington, who is saxophonist and musicologist who lives in. I just saw him about a year ago in South Africa. He lives somewhere in South Africa.
I don't know him. Okay.
And John Turner, great bassist, John Turner in Boston, swinging cat. So Night Stage, I'm not sure if that's what it was called at that point, but it was a concert room kind of place, club.
Yeah.
I saw Sun Ra there. I saw Pat Metheny rehearse the music before Still Life Talking.
Really?
They rehearsed the music there. The first time I saw Bill Frisell was there. It was a double bill with Jane Ira Bloom. So it was Bill, Joey Barron, Kermit Driscoll, and Hank Roberts.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
Jane's group was Fred and Ratso and Tom Rainey.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It was a cool place to see things. I've probably seen other cool things there.
Amazing.
But it was more of a concert hall kind of place.
Yeah.
And so Dewey was playing in a group upstairs with Ed Schuler and Victor Jones, and I was playing downstairs in the club part of the club,
Yeah.
And so Dewey came down and was at the bar, which he was at a lot, and listened to us, and he, after the set, he called somebody, or he got the saxophone player's attentions or something like that, to come over and talk to him. So they went over, talked to him. And they came back, and I said, "Wow, that's cool." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You know," he goes, he said to us, "Fellas, you sound cool, but you know, you're flat in your low registers and sharp in your high registers. You need to do your long tones."
Seriously? Wow.
And so he said, they said, "Now I want to talk to you."
Uh-oh.
So I walk over to him, and I say, you know, "Hello, Mr. Redman," and he goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Matt Wilson." He goes, "What's your mother call you?" I said, "Matthew." He goes, "Okay, Matthew."
Oh, wow.
And it's funny because all the saxophone players, you know, that know this or know that legacy call me Matthew. Joe Lamano, Lederer,
Okay.
Jeff, you know, Joel Frahm. A lot of people.
All these guys
call me
you played
Matthew.
with.
Yeah, because you know, like, so they call me Matthew because of that. I said, "Where'd you learn to play like that?" And I just said, you know, listen to records. You know, I listened to stuff with him. He said, "Hey, you know, let's keep in touch." So he wrote his number down. I still have that piece of paper.
Wow, that's beautiful. You should put it in a frame or something.
Yeah, and he said, you know, keep in touch. So I would call him every month for about a year and a half.
Really? Oh,
I would just come up and say, "Hey, Dewey, you know, it's Matt Wilson calling. You know, if you ever need somebody." And I never heard from him. One time he picked up, and you know, we talked for a second. Then one time I had done this European trip with Ingrid Jensen, and this would have been fall of '94 with Tony Scher,
nice.
Larry Goldings, and Tim Reese. It's kind of the first time I played with
Larry.
You know,
this connection then.
I created that relationship, so that was great.
Interesting.
And we really hit it off, and we had fun. And so I got home and I called Dewey. He goes, "Hey," he picked up. I was like, "What?" You know, the phone machine. Like, he says, "Hey, Matthew, what are you doing December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, or 3rd, 4th, and 5th?" I guess. I said, "Nothing." He goes, "Got this gig in Canada, Toronto, Pilot Club. Can you make it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, sure, yeah." So, you know, that started, and I learned the music, and you know, I knew the music.
Yeah, sure.
I learned his music, and we were at the airport, and Cameron Brown was playing bass, and we had a little rehearsal like across the table, like, you know, like you and I'd be dining. He was like, yeah. So I play this song, and see, I know these songs, so we get it. So on the way, he was like, "Where's Charles?" And it's Charles Eubanks. He's like, "Where's Charles?" And Cameron goes, "Hey, you know, he had reminded you that he has a wedding to go to. His son's getting married, or his grandson, or something like that. He couldn't make it." Oh man! So they called Don Thompson, the great bassist who also plays piano.
Yeah.
Because Cameron Brown at this point had a booklet, kind of like one of these, you know, like he carried with him, but it was thick. Had every information you ever needed to know, like every airline, every like hotel, you know, bass repairman in the middle of, you know, Austria. I mean, whatever, you know.
Amazing.
So we called Don. We get up there. We played. We had a great time. And so on the way back, in the section of the Toronto airport, when you fly back to New York, you go through immigration there. So it's like, you go, and there's a little snack bar area. And every time I'm up that way, it's still there, that little place. I kind of pay homage because that's what he paid me, and then asked me to basically join the band.
Wow.
So he said, "Yeah, I have a European tour, and I have a week at Sweet Basil's."
Oh, wow.
So I was like, "Yeah, this is really great." So then he was playing that weekend, the next weekend in New York. So my wife and I, my late wife, she passed away 6 years ago. We went to see him, and it was Frahm, Ockloff, and Charles and Cameron. So we're sit within view of the stage. So we're playing. I'll never forget. This is no many people know this story. I don't tell this one this much, but we're listening to them play. And he liked to wander around a little bit. He caught my. He was so happy to see me there to check out the music.
Really?
And he comes down and he walks behind me. My wife's sitting right here. Felice is sitting right here. He comes back around. He puts his hands on my shoulder and he kisses me on the back of the head.
On his concert.
Yeah,
during his concert. Wow.
Like things are coming. You know, check it out.
That's beautiful.
So I knew, you know, and so then we just started this relationship, and you know, he played on my first record as a leader.
As Wave Follows Wave,
Yeah, it would be 25 years next April that we made that record.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that one. I mean, for me, it's really burning, like those Bingo, and I remember Lona and all those tunes. You wrote such beautiful music for that record. How was it to ask him? And also, how did you get Cecil McBee? Because, you know, both these guys are amazing. You sound like awesome, you know. And
well, thank you. I was playing in Cecil's band at the time, Two.
Ah, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had a great band with David Berkman and James Zoller
Oh, wow.
and
Beautiful.
and um, um, and an alto saxophone player named Randy Connors, who was a
Don't know
student
him.
at the New England Conservatory. He lives in Japan.
Okay.
And we had a really great. First of all, Cecil McBee is not only a extraordinary bassist and a really fun human being. He's one of the greatest composers.
Yeah, I know. Unspoken, like that record, right? That's incredible.
Yeah, Unspoken. Yeah, that's that band.
Yeah.
And the music is fantastic. And just his tunes in general, Song of Her, man, that ballad, he writes really thoughtful and very different music. He writes very vertically, almost just note at a time this way.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I just spoke with him. He turned, in May but he turned 85 in May.
And he's still playing otherwise?
He's still playing great.
Wow.
I think he's the oldest working bass player that I know of on the scene. Yeah, he's slightly older than Mr. Carter.
Yeah,
and and stuff. So he's doing great. He looks great too. It sounded great, just like he always did on the man. Fun. We had a good band. We really played a lot, and so I got those two together. We actually rehearsed at the same location of this concert. Fifth House was a performance space, and then we made that record. And I asked Larry to play on a few things on that too. So that was the history of that.
But did that band was that also because I think you're quite known, at least to me. I seem you have like long-standing relationship bands, kind of, like people you play with for a long time, like kind of like working bands. Was this also like a working band for some time, or no?
Not.
It was hard to get those guys together. I mean,
I think we played a weekend at Smalls.
Oh, you did? Okay, wow.
With McBee and Dewey. I think just trio. And then Dewey played some gigs with me with the quartet. Like we did Boston with, it would have been Joel Frahm, Sam Newsom, Yosuke Inoue. And then then Sam was getting busy with stuff, and so I had D'Angelo play in that band. So we did some stuff too, Andrew, with Joel, and he played a really great concert with us in Chicago at the Unity Temple, which is a Frank Lloyd Wright designed church in Oak Park, Illinois. There was a series. I have a recording of that, and then he played with us a night in Madison, and then one night maybe in New York at Detour. Yeah.
Okay, at Detour, I played there once. What a place.
Yeah, it was wild. So Dewey played with us there, and but he told all the stories, and it was really great. So I have triplet sons, and they'll be 20 in April, and my son Max's middle name is Dewey, so it's
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
So yes, Dewey's really close. I have a photo of him and Max together. He was like family, I just love Dewey. I just
gave you probably a lot musically and personally, right?
Yeah, very important. Yeah. And he got, that's how I got into a lot of different worlds. You know what I mean? That's how Charlie and I played with. First time I played with Charlie's with Dewey. It was Joshua and Charlie and Dewey, and I played a concert in San Francisco.
Really? Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Charlie because the record "Not in Our Name." It's amazing. I spoke with Steve Cardenas the other day. Like it talked like that, and I think he's on that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Tony.
Time Life also. Tony
and all these guys, and it's so cool. I wanted to ask you, like you have like this burning soul on that. What's that tune? America, the Beautiful.
Oh,
it's so cool what you play there. How did you get invited into that Liberation Orchestra? Was that like as a sub thing, or was it you actually were a part of the orchestra for some time, or?
No, he asked me to join in 04. Paul Motion had a bypass surgery and made the decision. This would have been around 03, maybe 02, right around Lee Conant's 75th birthday.
Okay.
So we can kind of go back and remember. I think it was around that time because I played that week with Bill Frisell, with Lee, with Peacock and Bill.
Wow.
And Paul was really supposed to be on that, but had this bypass surgery right around that time. And then he decided he wasn't going to travel anymore. So that's when he didn't want to leave Manhattan. for for the next whatever quite a few years.
Yeah.
So almost 10, and so I remember I was right in here in the kitchen, and Charlie called me. So I remember picking up the phone, and he was like, "Hey man, hey man."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Sure," and how I I had met Charlie before at in like, "Hi, Mr. Haden," whatever, in passing kind of thing. But how it really happened to call Charlie was, Charlie also has triplets. His daughters are triplets, Tanya, Rachel, and Petra. So, and then he had a boy first, Josh, and then the 3 girls. I had a girl first, and then the 3 boys.
Oh,
kind of the same page. His triplets also, they don't know for sure, but I think it's pretty obvious that 2 are identical. Petra and Rachel are identical, and Tanya is fraternal. So I have pictures of the boys with them and everything. It's really cool. And
cool.
I'm really close with them. They're
wow.
So I called him in January of 2001. I said, hey, Mr. Haden. He says, no, man, it's Charlie. Hey, Charlie, I said, I need to talk to you, but it's not about music. And he goes, oh, man, I'm on the other line. I'll be right back. So I called him, and he came on, and it really gave me a lot of confidence,
Yeah.
But he also told a lot of just stories. Oh man, I was so tired, man, and then this and that. So, but it was great. We had I've been really fortunate to apprentice with these kind of people.
It's amazing.
And have great relationships with them.
Yeah.
Danny Zeitlin and Buster, that trio coming up.
I wanted to ask you that. Yeah, about that.
19
also,
years, coming up next month, and almost 20 years we've been doing. I mean, it's great to have that kind of, I mean, I dreamed of playing with these kind of people, I play along with them with records, and think, and here I am, shopping with them, or, figuring out what, it's really been a blessing to have that kind of happen. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I checked the other day, like I have you like on so many records, and I wasn't even aware that you're on some of these records, like this one by Charlie Haden, like Not in Our Name. I love this record, but then I was like, damn, Matt plays on that one. Geez, I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that like years ago when I bought it. Like, I just put it in, and I love the record. That wasn't so much aware. And then I saw like, wow, you're on so many incredible records. And I wanted to ask you about one really special one, because I think it might be special for you as well, like your relationship with Lee Konitz.
Oh yeah, that's like, another one.
The Gunk with Wind. How did?
Oh yeah, that's a duet record.
Yeah, I listened to that the other day, and I didn't know you did that one, and I checked it out the other day, and I was, mesmerized, because it's so beautiful what you guys play. It's like an improvised duo. But how did your relationship with Lee happen? I mean, he's one of the greats as well. So
that came about, I think, there was a room. It's funny how I didn't think about this, but there's a room called it was called the Metropolitan Room Jazz Club. It was short-lived, maybe from around 90, maybe early, like 93 to 95, 96.
Oh, wow.
It was in Union Square downstairs in a place. And it was okay sound. I don't know who ran it or whatever, but that's the club that I went to hear Dewey at, and he kissed me on the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then, which is great. And then we debuted the McBee band there.
Oh, okay. So it was quite a cool place.
Yeah. And then I was playing with Peggy Stern there, I believe, and that was the first time that Lee heard me and then played. And then I think another time at Birdland when it was uptown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we started doing things. I would play with them. We played some cool gigs, pretty historical, like not like Massey Hall, but I'm just saying like some cool things at the time. We played a couple nights at Smalls with trio with Ben Monder.
What? No, wait a second. I'm a band is for me a god. You, Lee Konitz, and Ben Monder.
Yeah.
Seriously, is there footage of this?
I don't think there's any footage.
Oh, no.
People didn't have that capability.
Yeah, I know.
And Lee, they wouldn't have, then it was pretty obtrusive. There's a review, I think. So there might be a New York Times about what year it might be. And we did it also there. And we played a festival down at Central Pennsylvania Friends of Jazz with that. So we did that about 3 times. And then he called me to do this record called Strings for Holiday.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Mike Formanek. You just had Mike on, who I love. Yeah. And 8 strings, which was arranged by Swiss, really great Swiss arranger and alto saxophonist named Daniel Schnitter. And he arranged the music for that. Mark Feldman, Zenobia Cummings, Eric Freelander. And we recorded that. That was around 96, I think, or 95. Yeah. Had a little studio, that was for Enja, a studio down on, on almost Hudson, down south of Canal somewhere, almost to Canal Street in New York. And it was great. And that's a really nice record. We did that live once in Europe. We did a gig, of that music live.
Oh, really?
And then I did the duet record with him. And then he played on my record, Going Once, Going Twice.
Yeah. Two songs. Right.
Yeah. And that little improv that's at the end of the record.
Yeah.
And then a voice thing. And then I did 2 Nonette records.
Nonette, the new Nonette, and
or one. I can't remember. Is it just one? There's 2 of those records. I think I did one of them.
New Nonette, I think it's
Yeah. And then gigs of all combinations.
But also duo. I mean, like.
Oh, and duo,
gigs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I put, the quartet with that week with Bill and Frizzell and Gary Peacock, and Lee, and then trio with Rufus Reed, trio with Drew Gress. I have some good footage of me and Drew and him.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I have to see that.
Martin Wind, gigs with him with Ray Drummond and Peter Bernstein.
Seriously?
That were great. Yeah.
Wow. I just spoke to Peter today.
Gigs with Tepfer, Dan, with Bernstein, and Abear. Yeah.
Oh, with John.
John Abear.
Wow.
John played bass on some things.
Amazing.
I'm probably leaving some people out, but a lot of different combinations. Martin Wind, we did a festival once. A good bass player from Germany at some things in England one time. There's some footage of that up online.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name right off the bat. Really good, really fine player. Gigs in the Azores with Lee, Paul Bley, and Abear.
Wow, what a band, man. That's incredible.
That was great. We did 2 nights there.
With Paul Bley. That changed probably completely the vibe, right? I mean, musically.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah.
Amazing, man.
Yeah. So we would always Dennis Irwin. We've some great gigs with Dennis Irwin with Lee.
Wow.
Yeah. Some great nights with Dennis, So a lot of different combinations.
That's incredible.
Really great combinations. Yeah, it's really fun. I love Lee. I think Bill and I talked about it for Zell after Lee passed. We did like an online thing for Jazz Gallery talking about Lee and just telling but Lee was probably, for many of us, one of the most important links to jazz history. I mean, I don't think anybody in the history of this music, and maybe even some in the history of American music, played with such a spectrum of people. I mean, from Claude Thornhill, Bertha the Cool, Lenny Tristano, all the European people, Gil Evans.
It's incredible,
I mean, just and young people, older people, I mean, all kinds of music, So I think that's something that's pretty
special.
He was you could ask him things. I mean, I remember doing this Japanese tour with him and Thomas Morgan and Florian Weber, great pianist. And I remember asking, just thinking about it. I'm going to ask him all this stuff, and just asking about Kenny Clark and how Kenny, just these things you want to know. So when he when he passed, I felt like, wow, I lost this information thing. And he would always show. We always got along. We only had Lee could be kind of difficult and very ornery. I mean, very childlike in positive ways, and also kind of ornery. But I was always cool. We always got along great. And
amazing.
But he would show up a lot of gigs, and he came on his 90th birthday or 91st birthday to come in here at Honey and Salt at for his birthday at Dizzy's with his
Seriously?
son.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, oh my God, he's not gonna like this.
Really? You thought that? Wow.
I don't know why. He loved it. He was backstage with us.
Yeah.
He's like, I remember him saying, you should get a TV show. He kept telling me. The last time I saw him, he would come to Dizzy's a lot. He would walk down from there, and I was playing there with Bruce Foreman and Rufus, and he came down, and we had a great visit. And I think that was really, I talked to him on the telephone, but I can't remember when, maybe a fall or two ago.
Yeah.
But we had a great relationship, and I cherish.
Yeah, amazing, man. Yeah, it's so cool, like that you got to play with all these greats, who basically made the jazz history back in the 50s, or that's incredible. Yeah.
And some of these people. So I don't take it at all for granted.
Sure, I know.
And the stories, I've been writing them down, and things that happened and things that they've told me, and
that they live on. That's so important.
That live on. Yeah, you have to keep, and you have to keep. This stuff's not in jazz history books, so you have to keep it going. And Lee was always said very nice things about me, and that biography that the British guy did on him. So said, really thoughtful words. So I've always we just really had a nice. We had a nice relationship. He was funny, but a character.
Yeah, I can imagine. I just want to ask you, Matthew. You mentioned Honey and Salt. I mean, I'm a true American poetry. I did my PhD in American poetry and translation, and I love 20th century American poetry. So when you did that Carl Sandburg project, I was like, yay, because it's different. And I wanted to ask you, how did you decide, first of all, to do that project? I mean, and how did the words kind of influence the composition process, let's say? I mean, how did you decide what suits what poem? That's what I mean.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges, or good challenge. But I grew up in West Central Illinois, which is where Mr. Sandburg is from. He's from Galesburg. I'm from Knoxville Town over. And so, there's a junior college name. There's a mall. There was a former mall. There's a Walt Whitman Mall on Long Island. So we were just saying.
That's good. Come on, at least the younger people get to know these guys at least by name.
That's good. It's great. It'd be like the E. Cummings Mall. And,
that's perfect.
Emily Dickens shopping center. Anyway, it's great. But my grandmother's aunt, or my great aunt, was married to Carl Sandburg's first cousin. His name was Charlie Krantz.
Oh, wow.
So we had all this other kind of thing going on too. We're not related, but just the stories and and that some sort of different kind of connection.
Interesting.
So I always, it's like anything, when you're in your youth, one of the things you want to do is you're quickly ready to depart where you're from and go and explore. You go. So of course. And when I got to college, I was like, oh, wow. So I wrote this paper once on Mr. Sandburg, and I realized how much he liked jazz. And so, of course, that got me more interested in it. And then as the years went on, I started collecting more. So what I did was I wrote the first one, really, is the title track to As Wave Follows Wave. So I maybe had written that one about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And what I did, what I started doing was I would make copies of them. I would just take the books, and make copies. And when I was starting to really write a lot of them, and I would just carry them around and flying or on trains or whatever, and just read them a lot to myself and read them out loud. And a lot of times, like Choose, for example, I remember when I read it, I was like, I just wrote in the margins of the paper, the copy of the paper, that's a march, 6/8 march. I even kind of wrote the rhythm out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And one of the things I wanted to do was try to have them be much of a different format as possible. So songs that were directly recitations that go with music, some that were just influenced by the sounds of the poem in general, not even a direct link to the poem in sound or whatever. So that's how it came about, and that brewed over the years, different things, and
amazing, yeah.
And so what was interesting, some was about when we did it a lot with different. We started out as a grant project for the quartet. So when we did it, then it was, we do it occasionally, and with Dawn and those guys and folks. But when we made the record, I decided, it kind of was doing it with Jeff and Dawn and then Martin. And so when we decided to do the record, I was like, oh man, I love playing with Ron Miles and we have very kindred spirits, good friends. And so Ron would add a nice thing to it. So we did that. And when we made the record about a year later, we did actually the first time that band played was at the Chicago Jazz Festival, in front of a lot of people. And it went great. We had guest readers that day and all that, all that kind of thing. But what I thought was going to become, what I thought initially that was going to become something that was kind of set, almost like a theater music and kind of be the same every time. It's actually become one of the loosest things too. I mean, we've gotten so comfortable with it that we can really bump it all around and move it all around. And sometimes different people playing it makes a difference. Sometimes Don Clement plays piano and sings if Don couldn't make it. And Nadia Nurhouse has played trumpet with this. Kirk has played trumpet with this. Ingrid Jensen's played trumpet. So that brings different things
variety,
to it, And so we've really let it become, we had a lot of stuff for this last summer that got canceled. Unfortunately, hopefully we'll get to make those up. But it was a really satisfying thing to do. I'm really glad we did it, and just the whole process of putting it together and with the booklet and everything was great. And then asking those guys to
I wanted to ask you that. I found that the coolest thing ever. That you have a record on with Schofield and Frizzell and Lovano and McBride and all these guys not playing the music but reciting. So how did you come up with that? I mean,
I don't know. One day I was just like, I love their voices, and now, something like now, like as Way Follows Way when we first did that, to hear Dewey's voice on there and to hear McBee and Larry when we did that track. We didn't have, there wasn't YouTube then. There wasn't predominant interviews like this. So you may never know what somebody's voice sounds like. Now it's a little bit more common, right? You can probably find somewhere online, obviously Joe speaking and John, Bill, people like that. So I thought, well, even in this case, it'd still be great to preserve, have this documentation of their voices. So I wrote everybody. They're like, yeah, let's do it. So they did it. A lot of people just did it with voice memo.
Yeah, incredible.
Jack Black did it that way. I did use Zoom recorder with Carla in a hotel room in Portugal. And Rufus was great. I mean, it was really
it's quite cool. I love this idea. Always when I was like, damn, that's such a cool idea, because invite incredible musicians to recite poetry, which is like, wow, okay, that daring move in a way, So like,
it was, and some interpretations were different. Like John, usually that one when we do it live, it's kind of manic, What would you think of, if a gorilla knocks on your door, what would you say? But he did it in this very, and it created great contrast to the track. I mean, that was all done after, Anyway, and now we have if this was 25 years ago, there's no way to do this. We would have to go to their house with a, now it's
how cool, right? That's amazing.
Christian actually had to have the track to sort of feel the tempo,
the beat,
but otherwise they didn't hear the music. And then Bill was great. Bill was he was like not apprehensive. He's like, really, you want me to? And he ended up being great.
I love Bill's voice. It's so soothing.
I love it too. And then Joe is Joe. And Joe did it with us live at Monterey.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And he stole the show, man. He came out and did it just like he plays saxophone, man, with all that charisma. Grabbed that microphone, he freaked Lederer out. Like, check it out, man. He's like,
wow.
Paper. They're two kinds. It's like,
that's amazing, man.
It was great.
So beautiful.
My thing is, I would have loved to have had Charlie read To Know Silence perfectly and have Carla do this other one. But to hear Charlie's voice, just because he wrote Silence too, it would have been kind of a nice thing. But it didn't come about. But that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, can we just go back to the present, just to the new one, also the Hug album?
Oh, thank you.
I listened to it the other day, and I love how positive it is, and considering all these times now, and it's also the title is like really optimistic, and it ends with this 3-minute kind of South African influenced vibe song. I wanted to ask you, how did you write the songs for the new album? I mean, because I spoke with Chris Lightcap the other day, and he said like that this band has been together like for 10 years almost, right?
Yeah, or more.
So, kind of, do you know when you write songs, like in general, or let's say for this quartet, that you know how these guys sound like Kirk and Chris? Do you use these possibilities also when writing? Do you have this in your mind? Or
Sure. Yeah. I do. I know. I know. I also know what they're going to be able to do with things.
Yeah.
I mean, we. Or I don't know, and I let them. They come up with it. I mean, Light. It's great.
Yeah.
They're all great, and and Jeff and I have such a relationship with doing a lot of different projects together, and yeah, it was how it came about. Well, not how it came about. I knew kind of things come in succession, and unfortunately, one of the things I think now, I'm thinking a little bit less this way as after this, but I like doing a lot of different things. I like having a lot of things going on. But you got to, like when you have a band, it's like that. So we were playing at Temple University, March of 19. Yeah, March of 19. Terell, Stafford had us down. Terell wasn't there that day, but Tim Warfield, his, the great saxophone.
Yeah, saxophone. Yeah.
I loved him, and great guy. So we did a afternoon workshop and then a little break and played this concert. And we rehearsed like a few things right before, like, okay, I brought these new things, like some, not maybe one of those, but maybe In the Moment, maybe Joie de Vivre, the Dewey tune, and then maybe a new one of mine or something like that. And we just read them down, and then we did them for those kids right there in the clinic, and they just came alive so much. And Tim came up afterwards and said, this is not only one of the greatest bands in jazz, this is just one of the greatest bands.
Oh, wow.
And
that's beautiful.
And sometimes, you don't, and so you take it, I don't want to say I take it for granted, but I guess kind of, and I'm like, damn, this is true. And so I decided to do it, and we had stuff lined up too. So, I mean, hopefully that'll come back around, but, yeah, it's very special. We played a house concert a couple weeks ago, and man, so swinging,
Yeah,
everything.
it's very swinging, yeah.
Yeah, and those guys all do everything, so well, and are adventurous and funny and in the moment, and are great, great performers. I mean, really great, brave, courageous, funny, sincere, inclusive performers. So that's part of it too, is that we have a blast. So
yeah, it sounds like it on record already. Like it's like it's. You go somewhere, then it goes into swing in like an open section, and it's like what you've been doing the last 6 years as a leader, or which I love, this unpredictability in a way, but also this it can go anywhere, at least already on records, I love that.
And I still love 4/4, man. I love swing. I mean, that's cats that can throw down like that too. I mean, it's still part of that. It's really part of what I do. So and what I love, and so I love to feel like how you can find the I mean, to me, it's that it's only not, if it's only not happening, or if it's not only not whatever people may think about that particular time melody, is if it's not done committed wise. If it's swinging, it's swinging, man. I mean, swing is swing is not just that. I mean, swinging is swinging is the flexibility, the vibe,
the whole vibe,
the whole, just however you embrace things. But I love that, I love, so I always say swinging with a capital W. Swinging. One of my monikers.
Like also on the new one, you have a Dewey tune, right? And the Charlie's. Yeah, and the Charlie's tune, and like, how do you seem to be doing this like throughout your career, that you basically write your own songs, but then you take on every record, like I was surprised always when I saw like a Jacques tune, or a Pat Metheny tune, or a Herbie Nichols, or a Monk tune. How do you decide which tunes? When Teen Town, you put, I think, Teen Town on one of the previous records.
Yeah, on Attitude for Gratitude.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I wouldn't expect that, let's say, from you, but you guys did it in such an amazing turnaround that it's like, yeah, it's completely natural that you do a Jacques Pastorius tune. But how do you decide which tunes to choose and for which album by other musicians? I mean, I'm really curious about this thing in progress. I
kind of keep a little catalog of these,
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say, hey, man, I really love that tune. Like there's a tune of Larry Goldings on one of the records. It starts, Wake Up to What's Happening. Boo ba boo dee boo dee boo doo ba boo 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 boo. I can't remember the name of it. I almost thought of it. So right in the first tune. And I remember playing that with Larry a long time ago. I said, I would love to record that, And then, I always loved playing Joie de Vivre. Actually, great Led. I mean, Led brought that in, and one day, we think about Dewey and wanting to play it. Charlie, I did this record with Steve Cardenas of Charlie and Paul tunes with Thomas Morgan and Warren Stillman. And
that's a beautiful one. Yeah.
We recorded In the Moment on there. So so I like and it's a Charlie tune that's fast, which is unusual in a way, and it kind of sounds like something it kind of sounds very Paul-ish to me.
Yeah.
Booby, booby,
yeah,
booby, booby, booby,
this simple melody, kind of intervallic, kind of,
yeah, booby, especially the last phrase, bee ba boo ba. It sounds so, like I always love how Paul had those big A flat chords, and so. Yeah, I like, and then the Bat. I've always loved that.
Oh, the Bat is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bat and Silence, of Charlie's, and so Ornette tune and Herbie Nichols tune and Gene Ammons and
all these guys.
Yeah. So I think repertoire. I really encourage folks to. I encourage my students especially to create these repertoire lists for themselves so that they have social music, social music that they know social tunes. So you can go someplace, we can play, you and I can play All the Things You Are together. We can play,
whatever standards
or whatever. Those kinds of, I call those social ones. Then you want to dig into songs that maybe the less, maybe not as common of those by, that's why I love Ken Popowski, for example. One of the great joys of Ken Popowski is not only his stellar musicianship and his openness, but he's one of the greatest repertoire people. So
really?
I didn't with him, and you're always going to play really cool tunes. Deep Purple, or a Noel Coward tune that nobody else plays, or a different Rodgers and Hart song instead of the regular ones. Just all these different things. And he when you make a record with him, we might play a Herbie Nichols tune, we might play a Beatles tune. We've done that. We've done a Peter Erskine 12-tone tune.
That's on.
What is this thing called? Love, I think.
Yeah.
So and so it kind of happens that way. And then your tunes but lesser known jazz people too, like some people that write that you're involved, that you dig, like some different different Lee Morgan tunes, or I always want to look at, we're always kind of intrigued, right, when we do still look at records and go, oh wow, they're doing a tune by, I've never heard of this tune by so and so, I've never heard this Yusef, or in the case we did this other tune on the other record, it was actually by Hugh Lawson, but that Yusef did, or all the kinds of things like that. Just find different Duke Pearson tunes.
For instance.
And find that Sonny Clark tunes. I mean, all these kinds of things. So you just find different. So the one person I haven't done anybody's of, and I will on the next recording of some sort, is I want to record some of McBee's tunes. One of the things I want to kind of do a record with him coming up, but we'll see what happens. And then I've got some other kind of projects brewing in my brain to record, coming up. But
it's beautiful, that you do that. I love that, because it's kind of, keeping the heritage alive, also different stuff, and basically it shows how really open your music also you are, and
Thank you.
that's beautiful. You know, I think.
Yeah, and not, you know, and I'm not really been a trend follower per se. You know, it seems like, oh yeah, it seems like somebody records somebody's song, and then everybody has a song record.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to find the ones that maybe and there
Yeah.
are, you know, I really do keep a little list. You know, I keep a list of like of things to do and try. And I kind of felt when I wrote for this record, I kind of felt like, okay, I need this, I need something like this. So I recorded. I think the things that I wrote right before the record is "Every Day with You."
Mm-hmm.
And the South African one, Amkhweli means goodbye.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And Sonny and Cher we had been playing, and then Space Force March we had kind of played once or twice in a little thing, and then we put that together with interplanetary music. So, and then Matt Ballesteros worked his magic with the Trump speech and everything.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I just wanted to ask you about Palmetto, since we kind of came to this.
Oh, sure.
You guys have you have a 20-year-old relationship, basically just to 25 to one label, right?
Yeah.
How did this relationship evolve? And because that's amazing. I mean, that's really, really rare, right?
Yeah. I wake up every day going, well, it was a good run. No, first I was playing with someone, and at the Blue Note, and a guitarist named Garrison Fuel. I had played on a few.
Oh yeah, I love him. Yeah, I love those records, man. That's beautiful stuff.
One with Fred and McBee, actually.
With Fred, that one, I have that one.
And then another one with McBee.
Really?
McBee with Laszlo Gardoni, the great Hungarian pianist.
Okay.
And so we played a few. He was great. He passed away a couple years ago. Beautiful guy. We were playing, and he invited Matt Ballesteros because Matt had, was kind of hinting at or making these records. So Matt came up to me afterwards and said, "You ever think about doing a record?" No. I was thinking about it at that point. I wasn't. That was, I wasn't. I really wasn't.
That's a clear answer.
Yeah, I was like, no. And so I said, but I'll think about it. And he said, I had this band that we were doing called the Sons of Adventure. It was me and Joel Frahm and David Berkman and Tony Sher. And we made this little demo tape called Tiny Prairie Landscape. It's on cassette. We want to get it put out because it's pretty happening, and for that time period, but just for any time period.
Yeah.
But David's song's great, and so we again they said, no, I mean, I love this. We'll do this something like this. But he goes, what would you like to do? I said, well, how about something with Dewey and Cecil? I'm like, okay. So we made it at Sound on Sound on April 12th, which is my son's birthday. 5 years later.
Amazing
coincidence. For that day, and we made it in that one afternoon, one day, and I got some outtakes from it now. So there's next year we're working on making like a little 5-minute documentary about the making of the record with this extra cut of Dewey of Dewey and Cecil, and called Zippy, and so that's how it came about, and then that record came out, and then he said, let's do something different. So he said, put something else together different. So that's when I put together Arts and Crafts. And then we did, two of those in a row, I think, and then back to a quartet record, and then back to a Arts and Crafts record, and then Big Happy Family, and then Honey and Salt. And
it's so beautiful, man. You actually, that you're there. It's like it's so rare, I think. And
thank you.
You keep doing your own thing, Matt Wilson thing, as a leader, and I think it's just such a nice lane that you're.
Wow! Thank you. I just realized I forgot this one. I try to keep track of these things, but I was at a cookout at my girlfriend's house on Sunday, and she was playing the first Arts and Crafts record, and I was like, "Oh man, we recorded this 20 years ago."
Wow! Yeah.
And so I looked online, and it was done October 2nd, and I had forgot to write Larry and Terell, so I wrote him. I said, "Man, we did this 20 years ago."
Passes by fast. Yeah,
and we did that. I had played the week before at Sweet Basil's with Dewey. So I was working that week at Sweet Basil's.
Amazing.
Right before that, we were at Monterey with the quartet. But that Saturday before October 2nd, so it would have been 2nd, 1st, September 30th.
Yeah.
Is the day we found out we were having triplets.
You're kind of all connected there, right?
Not say a word to them. I couldn't say a word to anybody at that point.
Oh my
I
God.
wasn't sure what was going on, but I was terrified. So I think some of that record, I was just going. I mean, we just did it. We just.
Yeah.
But man, that one, the flow of that man, Terell, everybody.
Yeah, Terell is
Larry's
incredible.
painting on that is great,
Yeah.
and of course the great Dennis Irwin. So that.
Yeah.
I kind of built it around Dennis, actually, and then I played with Terell, and I was like, man, this cat, I just did 2 notes with him. I was like, man, this is great, and so
that's beautiful.
And then Larry moved to the West Coast, and that's when Gary started doing it, and then, of course, Dennis passed, and I asked Marty to do that band.
Yeah.
So Marty is on the Attitude for Gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like 2000s already. Yeah, then later.
Yeah.
Matt, can I just ask you one more last thing? I mean, I love chatting.
Now we got all kind of, man.
I mean, just it's like
I love telling stories, so it's fun.
I love listening to them.
This stuff, yeah.
I just, it's nice to keep them, like I said, to keep them alive, and I think that's so important because it's basically part of jazz history already. It will be, and I just wanted to ask you, like, you as a leader, you have like your own kind of story going on, but then you did like some really amazing, almost like avant-garde projects as well, like especially the trio M with Myra Melford and Mark Dresser, and this Sifter trio with Mary Halverson and Kirk Knuffke. And how does your brain divide towards so many different directions? And how do, let's say, when you play with Mark Dresser and Myra, because I love that trio, by the way, how do the big picture is really beautiful in the guest house, and how do you adapt to that? Mark is a different bass player than, slightly more openish in a way. How do you adapt for that trio, like for instance, playing wise or composition wise also, because you wrote for that trio as well, right?
It's people, I mean, and I understand that everybody, but I've always been curious and always been interested in, when I hear something, I'm like, wow, I heard, I remember the first time I heard Mark, I was like, wow. First time I heard Mark, I was like, man, I want to be in that zone. I like that. I like the way that this feels and sounds, My late wife and I went up to see, at the Guggenheim, we went up to see this, there was some sort of improv series that was going on around the city. I can't remember what it was. It was before the Guggenheim moved down, or it was the Guggenheim, but wasn't the downtown one. No, that's the other one. That's the Whitney. It was the Whitney when it was uptown, excuse me, before they moved downtown. They had this series, and I can't even recall who else was playing, but Mary was there. We went to hear these pieces that she was doing, maybe with somebody else to these art pieces, and we were just blown away. I was like, wow, she's really, really cool.
She's good. Yeah,
and then I played a solo set for her as an opening act for her band with John and Rabagon and Aber and stuff at some sort of festival in Chicago. I played a solo set to open it, their thing, and we became, and so we did that. One of the cool nights that I think there's a recording I have to get of this, but I did a night during my 50th birthday with a band that I put together. I did different things each night, established things and some new things, and one of them was the Saturday night was a band with Joe Lovano, Peter Washington, Stefan Harris, and Mary.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
And it was great.
Really?
It was great. Yeah, it was great.
What did you guys play? Like with standards or your music? Or?
No, we played a few of my things. We played an Ornette tune. We played all kinds of different things. Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, there again, it's just, I like those I like creating those kinds of things with combinations too. People, And when I, now that's what's great is that we seem to embrace all of this. I think it's a little less about compartmentalizing.
Yeah, sure.
And I've always appreciated people like Ron Miles or Ron and people like Osby or other folks that seem to, Joe is a prime example of that, of rooted in what the things, but not, always looking and searching
Going,
and trying to do new things. And especially with different people. And same way with Myra, I'm just such a huge fan, and she swings so hard. They both swing really hard. Yeah. And so, it's a different kind of thing. Mary swings really hard. People don't think about that, but she's easy to share the time with. Yeah. So I enjoy that. Part of it came from a kind of a roots thing, in that when I was a kid, my brother got me this record called The Drums. It's a 3-record set on ABC Impulse that was basically stuff they took from the catalog. There was one for the saxophone. There was one for the bass. Oh. There might have been one for the piano. Nice booklet and everything like that. It's all from the ABC Impulse vaults, basically. Yeah. So it starts with Baby Dodds, this one, Spooky Drums, and it goes to that point, at that time, of Barry Allschul. Oh, wow. With Chick, and Mo Paul with Keith and Beaver Harris and Sonny Murray. So it had Danny Richmond, it has Buddy, it has Roy Haynes, it has Elvin playing Shining Stockings. So I listened to this record, and I would go through all of them. I'm like, well, this is, Ghost. Albert Eiler with Sonny Murray. Like, well, I guess this is. If I'm signing up to be a jazz drummer, this is part of it. I didn't know. Thankfully, I didn't know. Again, I'll say thankfully, that I was supposed to sign up for a 5-year period. So, and I wanted to do all of it pretty, I want to do it all of it, So I just, I was drawn to that, and then, so, amazing, but I love, I love, a year ago, right around now, we did this great week of music with Jeff Coffin and John Clayton and I. We had this little trio. And really? Great. Yeah, I mean,
with Jeff Coffin, the saxophone player.
Yeah, and
seriously,
and John. Yeah.
Wow.
I've done stuff with John. I've done a band with him and I, or Martin Wind and I and him and Hamilton. Wow. With a band, 2 rhythm sections stuff. Oh, man, great. So those guys, it's just honesty. If you get them to do it, it's cool. I love playing 2 drums. I love playing 2 drums with Jeff. I love playing 2 drums in general, but I really love playing 2 drums with Jeff Hamilton. It's really fun. Yeah. And so I mean, you again, you're everybody's story is different, and you gotta stay true to. And I'm always, I've been lucky, like we can list those people that I, and Lee and Charlie and McBee and Buster and Benny,
everyone,
I mean, all these people, Andrew Hill, Bob Stewart, all these people that I've got to apprentice with, and even the generation below, people like Dresser and Mark and Mark Elias and Ray Anderson I've recorded with, and Marty Ehrlich, who I just adore. We had a great conversation the other night, and Myra, that whole, and then and Ted Nash and people like that who just slightly older, and then my peers, Kimbrough's another great one. I mean, this list goes on.
He's
I
amazing.
don't want to leave anybody out, but Ben, Al, I mean, there's just so many of these people. Then my peers, people like Led and Kirk, and even Kirk's a little younger. Yeah. And and then now Joel Frahm. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then now these younger folks. So I'll go out on the road. Sometimes I'll be the oldest guy. I'm like, this is great. Great. I'll tell the stories. Same stories I told my cats. They've heard. I can tell the news. I got a new audience. So no, but I like the energy too. Yeah. And I played with a couple of students of mine on the Central Park a few weeks ago from the new school. They sound great.
Beautiful.
They said, come play. I brought ride cymbal, snare drum. We played. It was great. I mean, I'm inspired by them. Inspired by what they're coming up with. I'm inspired by their energy. Yeah. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to. So a big hero of mine in modern music is Coleman Hawkins.
Okay. Why?
And I mean, Coleman Hawkins, man, he did everything. Yeah. I mean, and the people that kind of came or were around him kind of did the same things. Shelly Mann, George DeVivier, Hank Jones, all those kind of people. Coleman Hawkins, he's on We Insist with Max Roach. Yeah. He's on the great Body and Soul. He played with Monk. He did, his mind, he was just so open. So, I mean, I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by people that put themselves in and try to do these situations,
Like different stuff,
Yeah, all the time. I love that. And so it's been, it's been a nice, journey, and it continues to be. It's
definitely,
fun. But I'm starting to realize the gifts that I was given, and that's why it's important for me to go out and play with these young people and put some stuff together and, lead, believe in me, Dewey, believe in me,
Yeah.
So Charlie.
Yeah, sure,
So
definitely.
it's like, okay. At the same time, I still want to, those people that you can still, having to get a chance. It was great to say I got to play with some with Jimmy Heath, or I got to do even just a tune or two, or
whatever.
one set, at a concert or something like that. But you get these moments. Frank West, or a few years ago, Hubert Laws. Man, it was a great experience.
Wow.
I mean, great experience.
Really, you played with him?
Yeah. Toots Thielman. I talk about how free he was. I mean, just beautiful. So these kinds of things like this,
they fulfill you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do for sure. Yeah. Carla. I mean, just the inspiration of Carla. Play.
You played with her also?
Well, with Liberation, yeah.
Yeah, with Liberation, yeah. I mean,
and around her a lot. And then Swallow recently we recorded with Lederer, with Steve, and then and then with Liberation too. He's on a lot of the second record that I did with Liberation, Time Life. Some live stuff with Charlie, but the other stuff's with Steve.
Wow. Okay.
And we just recorded with Lederer with Jamie Saft outside. I was outside. It was the only time I've ever had to stop a record date because of rain delay. We had to stop because of the rain. But the week later, I was up there at the Catskills on vacation, and Kim, my girlfriend, who I wrote every day with, she's a great writer and quilter and artist, and speech pathologist. But we went over to visit Carla and Steve at their house, and they actually invited us in. We had the mask and everything on, but I saw where she writes the themes, and then where she goes to the drafting table. And
that's amazing.
I've heard about this whole thing for years, so I got to see it.
That's beautiful.
And Jack DeJohnette lives down the road, and it's great.
That's so cool, man. That's amazing.
Hang out with him. I went to his house once.
To Jack's?
I didn't go on this trip, but great. So great.
Yeah, Jack is one of those
cats. So
amazing.
He's beautiful. So it's been. Yeah, and it's just them as human beings, when Felisa passed, she was friends with all them. To see Buster Williams and, these guys all come to this Kurt Elling and Bob Stewart and all these people there, to support us, support me, but support my family and everything like that with their, great, it's great people, great human beings, every darn one of them. It's just so much fun, but it's just so great that I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the first time playing with Buster Williams. I was like, here's my ride symbol, and I'm like, that's Buster, Yeah,
I can.
And I played along with him so much on records and stuff that I felt like I had been there.
Yeah, that's incredible. All these amazing players.
And you're like, you feel like, Bill, I've been there.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.